You are listening to #Breaking the Myth by Psychbigyaan Network Nepal. We are a non-profit organization based out of Nepal that serves to advocate for mental health awareness. Through this podcast, we wish to break certain misconceptions that might surround the idea of mental health and its care, and hope to break some popular myths we often see in media. If you like this episode, share it with your friends or anyone else who might appreciate it. Hello, good morning, good evening, whatever time you're listening to this. Welcome to #Breaking the Myth podcast. This is a podcast sponsored by PNN, which stands for Psychbigyaan Network Nepal. And we are a small but growing NGO based out of Nepal, and we love talking about mental health. So I have here me. My name is Ash, and I also have Kripa here with me. She is an in-house counselor. So we'll start with just a little bit of introductions for you guys to get to know us. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology from Furman University, South Carolina. So I know a little bit about mental health. I've been passionate about it for quite a few years. I have a background as an undergrad, I did research in body image, childhood psychology. So I'm very interested in just kind of learning how we develop and grow as people. And I've lived in India as well as the United States. I also spent some time in Germany. So I'm very interested in how, how our identities are shaped by, where we live, who we are, and who we are as people. So that's a little bit about me. Kripadi, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm so excited, Aishwarya, because I'm doing this for the first time in the different language. So I'm so excited and I'm so grateful that you thought of doing this podcast with us. And welcome to the team once again. So my name is Kripa Sigdel. I'm mental health counselor and lecturer by profession. I teach psychology in bachelor's and master's level, and I am a counselor and working in mental health since last 6 years in PNN, through PNN, and besides PNN as well. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, I think you only mentioned a few of the wonderful things that you do. Of course, you do teach, you do counsel as well. You do kind of all of the, I feel like, great things that come with advocating for mental health, right? So it's not just teaching it in a classroom, but also, with our organization PNN, you're just kind of making sure that it reaches the average individual who doesn't study psychology as well. Is that right?
Yeah. Recently, in October 10, 2000, it's a part of World Mental Health Day. We did this big virtual mela, big virtual festival, to talk about mental health and to break the stigma of mental health. And then we do this quite often. We do through podcast, we do through our articles and our social media. Yes, we do advocate. And we also do workshops and trainings related to mental health and psychology. Recently, we have been doing workplace mental health orientation in various organizations of Kathmandu Valley. So we do lots of things just related to mental health and psychology.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is so important in today's age, right? Because we as South Asian women, I'm from India, you're from Nepal, we're sister countries, right? But truly, I think the importance of mental health is growing where we are. I think maybe for our parents' generation, the generation before us, that knowledge really wasn't there. But I think, with our generation, that's changing a little bit. What's your take on that?
I absolutely believe that, Aishwarya, because of education, maybe also exposure. And sometimes I think we are exposed to mental health issues more than our parents were, because we are exposed to social media, we are exposed to this competitive world, and we are in this fast-paced society where we are just moving ahead to get so many things, to achieve so many things, and this is impacting our mental health. At the same time, as you said, like women, we have our voices. Now we can talk about it. Now we can say, at least I'm not feeling fine, or I'm not feeling okay, and these voices are being heard. So yes, mental health is being given more priority. Still, how it is in India and how it is in Nepal. It is still stigmatized. People still do not focus on mental health like they do for physical health. So it is still stigmatized this stigmatized issue. This is still taboo, but at least this is changing a little bit. So I'm glad it is changing, and I'm very happy that so many like-minded people are working towards this. So we'll make it possible. We'll make it mental health in the tip of the tongue of everyone, like they have physical health.
Absolutely. I agree with you so much. And, especially the part you said about just how fast paced and pressurized our world is today. I think we are trained for it ever since we are little children because, school is like, at least in India and Nepal, I think it's similar. It's like 8 to 10 hours a day, homework. And we have these preparation exams here. So it's like, preparing for those exams. Sometimes children start as like 11, 12 years old. So it's just a lot of pressure in our countries to succeed, to just, succeed and get there and make a life of your own, which is fine, right? I think, career and money, and they are very important. But at the end of the day, you can never do your job well if you don't take care of yourself, right?
Exactly. So that is what I was wanting to stress, and that is what we are stressing for this episode, right? Self-care, which is very important. We are we are taught and we are forced to succeed. We are always said that you need to succeed or you need to get this or get that, but never taught you need to do this for yourself or for your mental health. So yes, self-care is very necessary.
Yeah, you brought us to the center of our discussion today on this podcast is hashtag self-care. I'm glad to have you here, Kripati, because you are a practicing counselor. I am a practicing Gen Z. I barely know how to take care of myself. I'm kind of coming straight out of college, and throughout university, I did not take care of myself. Like I don't think sleep was ever important to me. I was working all hours of the day. I was working 2 to 3 jobs in university, which I think is a reality for some people who are wanting to study and make a living. And so I understand the pressures. But I do remember just my skin breaking out all the time, me being stressed all the time, not really sure. I was kind of like a zombie, and and self-care for me was just going out with friends on the weekend and going out to eat or going out somewhere. But it was what does self-care really mean? I think especially to someone like me who is still kind of learning and starting this journey. What do you have to say about that?
To be honest, Aishwarya, I think I can relate to that. I can relate to whatever you used to do in your college. And now, after being a psychologist myself and taking clients, then I started being or having or taking care of self more than before. So yes, I can relate to the feeling, and I think many of our viewers, our audiences, relate to that. So that's a mutual of today's generation. But self-care, if you have to ask me what is self-care in the mental health context, it is any kind of activity that we engage to take care of ourselves emotionally, psychologically, socially, and then these activities are self-care activities. So if you are working towards making your emotional, physical, psychological well-being better, then those activities are self-care activities. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So, I mean, anything that you do to take care of yourself and not just, other people, your friends, your family. Because I think we spend a lot of time caring for other people. We are taught how to care, especially in South Asian cultures, right? We are taught to sometimes take care of other people before ourselves, take care of other people's feelings before ourselves. So I think I completely agree with you in terms of self-care. I think it's all these different aspects of your life. So for example, if we talk about socially, maybe if you're not feeling okay to hang out with friends even though you want to, right? It's like, okay, maybe I'm just going to relax tonight and spend some time in reading a book or watching Netflix or something. Me time, those kinds of things should be encouraged, should be important. Or emotionally, where don't stop your need to cry, right? I think don't regulate your emotions so much that you stop that you forget that you have them. So things like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. It is okay to be not okay, and so that people can feel fine in the skin, feel fine about their emotions. So that is self care. And like you said, saying or learning to say no to people, learning to say no to outside things, because they can have, and it is absolutely fine to have me time, to have alone time sometimes. If reading books give you happiness, if reading books make you feel good, then that's okay. That's completely fine. You do not need to go and hang out with friends, or you do not need to say every you do not need to say yes to everything. So yes, that is self-care. And self-care means different to different people. For example, my self-care way might be just taking a nap, and I might feel fresh after that. Your self-care might be different from mine. So it is individual, but it has to be targeted towards your well-being. Mhm.
Absolutely. I think it should recharge you, right? I think anything that involves self-care should be
Exactly.
kind of like when you plug in your cell phone, you can't use your mobile phone if you don't charge it. At the end of the day, it's very useful. Just like that, I think your
True.
body is so useful.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I think especially in our culture, and this is kind of touching on who we are as women, I think we are not taught to respect our bodies. I'm not saying it looks different for men. I think both men and women can take from this, but especially women in culture, we're
Mhm.
not taught to take care of our bodies. It's always like, if you're a mother, look after your family. If you are, going to school, you still, look after your family maybe, or your friends, or it's always others before us. So I think even especially for women, I think we forget that our bodies help us stay alive, right? I think we are so busy hating ourselves, like maybe we
Yeah.
are gaining weight, or losing weight, or it's so focused on appearance that we forget that we do everything we do because of our bodies, right?
Exactly. And even like taking care of yourself and having good thoughts, or giving care or emphasis to your body, it is mental health as well. Because we do not, as women, I do not see myself talking about my emotions freely as I can, because people will be judging. As a in-law, as a daughter, if I talk about my stories, if I talk about my failure stories, if I talk about something I want to express in public, I cannot do that, because I have to take care of my family. I have to think what they will be thinking. So yes, even as a female, taking care of your mental health is also unstick. It's also something which we cannot do it as freely as we want to. Mhm.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk about, I think let's go on to what does self-care look like? Of course, we talked a little bit about what it looks like for you, what versus what it looks like for me. How has that changed? Because let's to address the elephant in the room. We are in a full-blown pandemic,
Yeah.
and I think going on 8 months now almost. And I think like most people, it's going pretty strong in India and Nepal both. So, how has self care changed for you? I mean, because there's such a big stressor now, and so many of those things that we liked
Mhm.
doing before. Like, for example, for me, I loved going to hot yoga. I know this is going to sound like a very expensive bourgeoisie concept, but I was living in California, living the Californian dream, and I used to go do yoga in the morning before work, go to 10 hours of work. Like, my day was so structured. And I kind of, went into this rabbit hole after my life collapsed, like everybody else, right? I was just kind of like, I don't step out of my house anymore. I feel like I want to sleep all the time, which I do still make a lot of time for sleep, which I mean, I'm a little grateful for at this point. But everything has changed. Like, how are you taking care of yourself right now?
Like you said, it has changed, and I think it has made me more focused on self-care than before, Aishwarya, because I didn't used to give more emphasis on my mental health. Before, I used to work, I used to be working all the time, and I used to be juggling between my home and my work, and then I didn't have time to actually give thought about my self-care. So I'm grateful that the pandemic led me do that, like you said. And this pandemic is making us realize that it's okay to be not okay sometimes, because people used to think self-care is for just mental people with mental health issues, right? People with mental illness. But now we have mental health, everyone has mental health, everyone is wanting to be in the higher level of their well-being, so they want to do that. So for me, self-care is very essential, and I think self-care helped me to go through this pandemic easily. For me, self-care looked like having scheduled life, having scheduled work balance, having work balance life in this pandemic, in this last 7 or 8 months, having good sleep, having talk time, having a time to talk and express with my family members, having a time to let my emotions out, having time to just sit outside and then stare or gaze moon, or I mean just to be alone by myself. So it looked like that, and I think self-care is much needed in this time, because we are feeling lonely than before. We do felt less productive than before, because all the social media queen people are posting about their new cooking style, or posting about their new innovations they did, and that made many of us less as a productive being, and that made us be more unhappy about ourselves. So self-care is more important than before. At the same time, we are happy that we got time for ourselves. We can just sometimes Netflix and chill. We can just have happiness in our bed sometimes by just sleeping and taking nap. So yes, self-care was important, self-care is important. And for me, I got a lot of time to rejuvenate, like you said, to recharge. So it was good for me. I'm grateful that it happened. I'm not grateful that it happened at the pandemic, but I'm grateful that I could find my time in between all this juggle, all this hustle bustle of work and home.
First of all, wow, like that's, definitely such an important perspective on the pandemic. I think we are talking a lot about right now, oh my God, we have so much time, right? And I absolutely agree. I am like a child of social media. Like, I am one of those people who had access to a cell phone growing up, in high school and stuff. So I've always been around social media. So this definitely affected me. So that's such a great point that you put out, that everybody is like, there was this one thing I made a little Instagram post about, because it frustrated me so much, was people were making so much banana bread in the, at least in the US. They were like, everybody was baking all over the place. And I was like, stop making banana bread. I'm tired of it. I am not the best cook, but it affected me so much that I was like, I am actually having a horrible time. I am an extrovert, and I recharge
Exactly.
in social settings. So it for me, it was a hard transition, because I, like similar to you, had structured days filled with people. I was a recruiter, which means I was talking to hundreds of people every day. And, to go from that, which, I was still doing that from home, but, that physical feeling is now gone. So it was a harder transition. But I also love the thing that you said about, staring at the moon. I love that. I love that. I love, I'm back, at my parents' house. It's a little bit in the countryside now, and, away from the city hustle bustle. Like you said, I think a lot of us were working in those metropolitan cities, or even in general, like going to work and stuff usually a busy environment. But now I can go up to my roof and look at the stars and look at the moon, and I like doing that before too. But I think it's just necessary, me time, necessary reflection time. I do believe structure helps, because when there is a sudden lack of structure, it can send you into some dark places, at least for me. It definitely did that. But now that, I'm working a little bit, I'm doing a little bit of freelance work and things like that, It gives me, and I guess it might still be a little bit about productivity, but just having purpose to your day. And I heard this somewhere where it's like when we have so much anxiety about the future, right? We don't know what is going to happen, when is Corona going to end. Um, it's okay to just have a plan for today. I think that's what people need to realize. I think in our culture, it's like, I remember my brother asked me, he's like, what's your 5-year plan? What are you going to do? I'm like, does anybody have a plan right now? Because I don't. I know what I'm doing today, and I know almost what I'm doing tomorrow, but 5 years, nobody can say right now.
To add to that, if we can make this little accomplishment for the day, and if we accomplish that by the end of the day, that is going to add it to your well-being at the end. So having this little to-do list is also one of the important aspect of self-care. If you want to feel happy by the end of the day and say the day was good and I accomplished something, or you're ought to have your mental health intact, then having small to-do list in the days, and then just reflect back when the day is about to end and feel happy about yourself. That is a good way to do self-care, and that is very important point you raised, Aishwarya.
Yes, it's all experience learning. I definitely did not come up with it myself. Yeah. It's just helping me right now. In addition to that, just going back to our bodies, I think there's a lot of pressure when it comes to health to look a certain way. But in the pandemic, I think health-wise, what's important is get out, get some fresh air. Even if, you don't live in a place where you can maybe take too many walks, go up to your roof, go out to your balcony, or go out to, wherever you can is possible within, your space, and, and try to get some fresh air. And I know this, it just depends on where you live, but it's so important because our bodies are not adjusted to living inside for so long. We are not polar bears that like to hibernate. We do like to go out, right?
No.
So I think that's a little bit important too. Yeah. Not to suddenly get 6-pack abs. That's really not my aim in the pandemic. For me, it's just like eat when you're hungry, and make sure for me, make sure to get one walk in once a day, just to clear my mind. Yeah. And it changes my mood drastically.
Like we always say, physical health and mental health are so important and so related. Sometimes I say people are living in just a one room place, right? So even at that time, at that moment as well, they can just open their windows and then let the fresh air come. So just find little ways so that you can find you can make it better. So just my opening window can be one thing, or just being mobile when you are cooking. You can dance and cook, right? That is what you can do. So you can put your music on full volume and do that. I do that often, and that helped me in the pandemic when I was very frustrated of cooking, but I had to do. And then I used to make the music and put the music on full volume and do that. So you just need to pause for some time and see what works for you. You cannot just Google and find the self-care techniques. It is individual, like we said earlier. So just find out what works for you, right? And then if it works for you, repeat that until it is habit for you, until you are very habituated of that activity. So just do that. It helps.
And I think another thing, at least for me, I think is good to recognize, I'm a very chaotic person, so I never get attracted to structure. And although, definitely it is helping me right now, I fall off the wagon sometimes. Like, there's an important point you mentioned. One, that you cannot just Google it. It needs to be your own. So, for me, back in the day, I would love going out to dance with my friends. We could, go out to dance clubs and things like that. And for me, that was a great way to express myself, right? So like you said, it's very important that it is individual to you. So if you think art is relaxing, if you think cooking is relaxing, if you think even singing, I was even singing at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was not because I suddenly decided to become a singer, but, it's just another way to express your emotions now that we are not able to do it with each other so much. Okay, so any final words of wisdom? So we talked a little bit about self-care, what it looks like in the pandemic, and just how much mental health matters in addition to physical health, and how they just kind of go hand in hand with each other. And if you're just starting your self-care journey, so for example, Kripadi, like, what if I'm somebody who is a student, right? Which I feel like a lot of psychology students want to listen to this stuff, or even just everybody. We want everybody to listen to this. But for example, you're a student, you're tired of Zoom classes, you're tired of homework, and not having the fun aspect of school, or even if you're somebody who's working and tired of it. Do you have any tip for them to for where to start? Because I think we talked about a lot of things. What's a good place to start for someone who's wanting to do self-care?
Well, I'm very glad we are bringing this podcast during festive season, because so many people are having this festive mood and they must be having good time. It's a self-care. But if they are in between hustle bustle, they can just start with some me time by themselves. Remember what they used to enjoy when they were a child. They can nurture their hobbies. They can start cooking, or they can start learning guitar, or they can start doing gardening, or do whatever they used to feel like before. One thing every one of us have to remember is never feel guilty of taking care of yourself. It's okay to have your time. It's okay to have your time by yourself and do whatever you feel like. It's not that you are in the race to compete and reach to some level, right? Every day is your day. So never feel guilty, and find some time in the day for yourself, for good, and which you will help you to bring that big smile by when that time ends. You can find that time in any day, any moment of the day, maybe in the morning or afternoon or evening, any time of the day.
Yeah, what great words of wisdom to end this episode with. Self-care is not selfish, right? It's not selfish. It's important. So you really should not feel guilty about taking out this important time for yourself, because only when you do take out this important time can you then return to work, you can return to your friends, you can return to your family, and fully be yourself, right? If you are tired, if you don't feel like it, we're not able to stay so present in every moment, in every work that we do. And especially for me, I think taking those breaks is super important for me to fully be myself, outside, in my outside interactions. But thank you so much, Kripadi, for taking out time from your very busy schedule, counseling, doing PNN things. I'm really happy to be doing this with you. And we're going to have a few more episodes coming up. So please stay tuned. We're gonna have weekly postings of these podcasts. So if you have any comments, any advice, anything you liked about the podcast, please let us know in the comments wherever you see this. And we really want you to share this with your friends, and share this conversation and have these conversations beyond this podcast as well.
Yeah, let's talk about mental health.
Yes, #breaking the myth. We will see you guys next time.